I try myself to live a life where I could be a tall tale one of these days, these kids, you know. Because I've come behind a long generation of tall tales, legends. I'm descended from a man named Eagle Rose. Eagle Rose was my great-grandmother's brother. Ivy Rose was her name. And Eagle was the Cherokee of Cage Cove. When Cage Cove first come around, they made brochures and they had an Indian on the cover of the brochure, and that was Eagle Rose. It's my ancestor. But this man, he was a brave, strong, mighty man. There's a lot of people that was afraid of him. He ran moonshine liquor. Now, you know, there's a lot of people in this general part of the world. We kind of made the moonshine famous around here. And I had some famous moonshiners in my area. Eagle Rose was raised by a man named Quill Rose. And Quill Rose was one of Fontana, North Carolina, one of their most notorious moonshiners ever. Quill was his nephew, but Eagle was Quill's nephew. Quill raised him, you see. Eagle Rose, he went and fought in the he fought for Roosevelt. Roosevelt had the Rough Riders. I don't know if y'all have ever seen, they had many movies about the Rough Riders that Theodore Roosevelt to go down to Cuba and give them Spanish or what for, right? Well, Eagle Rose was a Cherokee that went along with Roosevelt and the Rough Riders to Cuba, you know, fought. So this man, I mean, he was a man of myths and lore around here. But this is one of my favorite Eagle Rose stories. He lived in Cage Cove, and the part of Cage Cove is called Chestnut Flats. Okay, Chestnut Flats. He was one of the long-haired clan. He is one of the long-hairs of Chestnut Flats, along with Smoke, Sam, Birchfield, a couple others. And there were several Cherokee that lived in Cage Cove this time. And they lived around about the same area of Cage Cove. Also kin to the Whiteheads, the Whitehead cabin. That's the other side of the family. But anyway, we won't talk about that side. But we'll talk about this, my favorite Eagle story. Okay, it's Eagle Rose. He's going to take a run of corn liquor from Cage Cove over to Robbinsville, North Carolina. See, Robbinsville, he had some people. A prominent Caucasian family. He's making them run White Lightning. And he didn't have vehicles back in, you know. So he was taking this via mule. And he left Cage Cove and go through Hazel Creek, Fontana area, cross the river at Fontana somewhere, ferry, and then go to Robbinsville from there. Now this is a 2 or 3 day trip, right, of the night time he'd have to spend the night. So they said on the second night, he'd made camp and he needed wood. He left his flintlock rifle sitting beside the fire. And he went off into the dark. And the pitch black of the dark of the night. And he's hunkered over, you know, and he's picking up firewood. And something come up behind him in the dark and tackled. Next thing he knows, he feels something on his throat, closing his throat. His flintlock rifle is sitting by the fire. So he reaches down here at his belly, grabs his Green River blade, he sticks it in the side. It clamps down even harder, he sticks it in the side again, he turns it. Pulls his knife out, and whatever it was, it jumped up on him and went limp. And he could feel its warm blood pouring down around his shirt. He throws it off of him and he gets off the ground. He gets a hold of it. He's about out of breath. He drags it to the fire. Now the old people calls this a painter. A painter. Now, there's people say they sees them and they're black, you know. This one wasn't no black painter. This was, you know, just a mountain lion, cougar, 9 foot long from the tip of its nose to the end of its tail. And he kills it graveyard dead with nothing but his belt knife. That's all he had at the time. So he makes his run of liquor, brings that cat back home, and skins it. And they've told that story ever since. Now, it happened, this happened right after, this would have been several years after he come back from Cuba. So that's how long ago that story happened. And it's been handed down my whole family. My granddaddy told me that story when I was smaller than these boys sitting here. And now I'm here to tell it to you today. That's the two kinds of stories that we tell here. Moral-based story and tall tales. There's always something hollering in the holler. You need to remember that. Now, if you want to hear any more of these stories I have a podcast that is on all your podcast places, outlets, your Spotify's and your Apple, you know. It's called the Secret Smokies Podcast, and we like to cover the things that aren't very heard of around here. You hear the stuff that's you hear a lot of tales over and over and over again. We try to cover the stuff that you don't hear. You can hear it on Secret Smokies. We also have a show at rosavita.tv on the internet. It's My American Journey. And listen, I'm tickled to death that y'all have had me here this evening. That's all the time that I have. They give me 20 minutes, and that's 2 good stories for 20 minutes. God bless you. So remember, if you're trying to go a mile down the road in your life and you leave Jesus out of that mile, you might as well be going 2 miles backwards. Okay? All right? You ain't never alone. And I want you to know something before you leave here today. I want you to know from me, from the sincerest, most honest part of my heart, I want you to know that there's a reason for you being here.
Amen.
If you ever get to feeling like you're an accident, the devil's a liar. And he'll plant that seed in you and make you feel like you're an accident sometimes. It's a crying shame that there's people in the world that feel that they need to take their own life. Don't never ever feel this way. You are important. You were made for a reason. There's a reason you're here today. I love you. I want you to have a wonderful day. Listen for them things hollering in the holler and adventure on. Thank you so much.